Hello everybody and welcome to another Doctor Who review. Yes, it is a third Doctor story, Colony in Space, written by Malcolm Hulke. I have in front of me for the classic series reviews, as always, the television companion. Let's have a look at the plot synopsis for this story. The Time Lords discover that the Master has stolen their secret file and doomsday weapon, and decide to send the Doctor to retrieve it for them. The TARDIS takes the Doctor and Jo to the desolate planet of Exile in the year 2472. There they become involved in a dispute between some beleaguered colonists and the crew of an interplanetary mining corporation ship over the ownership rights to the planet. The Doctor learns that the indigenous primitives and the High Priests worship a large machine tended by a creature called the Guardian. The Master meanwhile arrives in the guise of an adjudicator sent from Earth to decide the fate of the planet. He forces the Doctor to take him to the primitives' underground city, where they learn that the machine is in fact the doomsday weapon capable of destroying entire planets. Its radiation emissions have brought about the decline of the Guardian's race, and are also responsible for the crop failures that the colonists have been experiencing. The Doctor persuades the Guardian to destroy the weapon, rather than let it fall into the Master's hands. The two Time Lords get clear just in time as the machine explodes, and the Master then escapes in his TARDIS. The colonists, meanwhile, attack the IMC men and force them to surrender. Yes, we'll go into the cast and have a quick discussion about each of the major characters in the story. So we have the Doctor, played by Jon Pertwee. You get the sense at this point that he's really into the role. I think he's really comfortable. I love the relationship between him and Jo, even in this stage. There seems to be a bit of a... I think the bit I do like is the bit when they first arrive in the TARDIS in Exile, and the Doctor's feeling a bit, oh, but I want to go outside, and he's pleading to Jo, and the way he gets around to his way of thinking is very intriguing. I quite like the way it's put across. The frisson between the Doctor and the Master is always the key and best bit of these encounters. The Doctor's intelligence and his bravado certainly shine through at various bits here, but he's quite an explorer. And of course they go across a muddy quarry and they just love it, basically. And I think the third Doctor is definitely the third Doctor that we all know at this point. He's certainly settled into the role. There's no real comedy or anything like this. I think the best bit I like about this is the discussion between the Master and the Doctor in episode 6, and the whole frisson between the two diametrics of the characters. The Master wanted to rule the universe, and the Doctor quite brightly saying, I want to see the universe, not rule it. And it just shows the philosophies and the understanding. And even though this Doctor is a bit more action-packed, the core of the Doctor being the explorer is very much true here. And the fact that he's able to be a good mediator and prove his worth to the colonists is a nice touch, really. We then have Jo, played by Katy Manning. I quite like the way Jo has come across here. Yes, there's a bit of, oh, I'll help you with the food and help run the colony a little bit, but she has a bit of agency about her and does seem to bite back a bit when she needs to. She doesn't necessarily need to be saved too much, and her escapology traits have come out quite well there. She escapes a couple of times from being tied up, which is quite cool and quite nice to see that she still has that agency there, because companions can sometimes just go downhill after the first story, and she's kind of building on the strengths there. And obviously there is elements of Jo that you see in later stories like Frontier in Space, where she's very much her own person and very much has her own agency. And I think it's the start of them trying to put a bit more of a character development to the companions, the female companions at least. And Jo is a very good prototype for that. I think they realised that even though Liz Shaw was maybe a bit too scientific and a bit too much, that independent streak that she had certainly has been fed into the characterisation of Jo and developed even more. And the rapport with her and Jon Pertwee, Jo Grant, Katy Manning and Jon Pertwee is very warm here. Even though this is like maybe the fourth adventure she's been with him, it's very warm, it's very matter of fact, and I love the way that they bounce off each other. I think it works really well. Let's look at the guest cast, see what the guest cast I like. I will come back to Roger Delgado's Master at the end. But I want to just go through a few of the cast, not all of them. We've got Winton, played by Nicholas Pennell. He is kind of like the second in command and the heart of the colony. Very nice character overall. He's nice way of bouncing off Ash in regards to discussions and the politics of the colonists as well, and the fact that he's maybe a bit more defensive than Ash is. Ash is a bit more reasonable and trying to create a colony here. I like the whole idea of that, and I think it works quite well. It's really quite nice. Nice return for John Ringham playing Ash. John Ringham was last in The Smugglers back in 1966, and he's better known as playing Utoxel in the Aztecs, the 6th Doctor Who story of all time, which I have already reviewed, and if you want to check that out, all you need to do, of course, is look up there and have a look, or it's there. But it's down in the description anyway, so you can have a look, and yeah, have a look at that review too, please do. Then we have, of course, we've got a notable appearance, early appearance, of the actress Helen Worth, better known in the UK for playing Gail Platt in Coronation Street for 50-odd years. She plays Ash's daughter, Mary. It's a basic role, but she becomes the friendly surrogate for Jo when the Doctor's off trying to investigate through the planet, and with Ash, and obviously later with the machinations with the Master. It's quite nice that Mary has got a kind of proactive role there, and it's quite nice to see. I quite like that. We then have the main leads of the IMC. We have Caldwell, played by Bernard Kay, and Bernard Kay plays it very well, and I really like the way that he comes across with this. I think it works brilliantly. We then have Dent, played by Maurice Perry. Ooh, what a dark and principled businessman this man is. He really doesn't care for anything but profit. Again, a very nice characterization. I think it's a very nice character overall. And then we have Tony Corton's Morgan. Nice henchman in this one. Quite like the way that Morgan is played here by Tony Corton and yeah, I do like the character as a whole overall. That's a few of them. It's just very basic in regards to the story. The plot's more interesting than the actual characterizations, really. The major guest cast character, of course, is Roger Delgado playing the Master. It's nice to see the Master trying to use the tricks he was using on Earth, the Mind of Evil and Terror of the Autons, here in Colony at Space, except this time he's impersonating the Adjudicator, which they have called for on the colony regarding the dispute between the IMC and the colonists, which was an interesting take and an interesting situation in that respect, and I quite like the way that he comes into it with this big wig, but there's also that ulterior motive there. Couple of tropey elements of the Master always want to try and kill the Doctor and kill Jo, especially when there's a fight between the colonists and the IMC at the end of episode 4, beginning of episode 5, when he gets the gun out saying, oh, there could be collateral damage of stray bullets or whatever. You know, that's interesting. I think the dynamic really works better when he's working with Jon Pertwee. It's pretty obvious there's a good rapport between him and Jon Pertwee. And yeah, I think the Master works best when he's up against the Doctor, and yeah, there's something about this Master, even though he's been in every single story of season 8, there's still something that looks good, what works with this Master, and that's why he's probably good when he comes back to the Sea Devils and then latterly Frontier in Space and the Time Monster, because he is, he's a character that is definitely the alter ego of this incarnation of the Doctor. I think this is where the Master always works, is when they're an actual alter ego of the Doctor that they're playing. But they all stem back to Roger Delgado. I was getting somewhere at that point. And the whole comparison between the Master and the Doctor works here, and it really isn't bettered at all since. The original is the best, and Delgado shows here why he is the best. His smooziness with the colonists, the way he manipulates both the colonists and the miners in regards to the decision that he makes with them, the fact that he's hunting for this doomsday weapon and tries to plead his case about to the Guardian about using it for the force of destroying people and destroying the universe, and the Doctor then obviously turning the Guardian around. That's interesting. I think that shows this quintessential master himself. He's always wanting to have his own ends, make his own ends, and have his own way of doing things, and he doesn't like people getting in the way, and the Doctor is like his big foil, and you certainly show the good the relationship there, and it's nice to have him as an anchor point for the adventure as well later on, because he helps keep the plot along, because he doesn't come along to that episode 3, episode 4, which helps keep the pace going, because this is a 6-parter, and obviously 6-parters sometimes can drag. He gives the fresh impetus into the story to allow it to carry on, which is interesting. We have it written by Malcolm Hulke, and it's very much a political parable, very much about colonisation versus industry and the commercialism of that. So we've got the Earth. It's said that the Earth has got 100 million people in it. I don't understand how it's got 100 billion, but it must be very crowded. And obviously this is where the colonists come in. It's very much a parable from the New World explorations with the development of America and all the other, and the Australian colonies in the previous centuries. It's very much the environmental element is there as well, with the use of resources and the finite limitation of resources. It's very interesting, left-wing, parable, political thriller. But Malcolm Hulke's quite good at getting the dynamics between the different groups together. The Doctor's trying to be the mediator between the Master's being the disruptor, and then you've got the colonists who want to live a normal life and make a life for themselves, and then you've got the miners who are interested in the profit. I think that's a quite nice dynamic, and I think it really works for this. It's the first time they've actually done anything really outside of an Earth-based setup, modern day Earth setup, in about a season and a half. This is the first time the Doctor's been able to travel, I believe with Time Lord help, since he got exiled at the end of the War Games. So it's interesting how we're now seeing how this production team does an alien planet, and they start low because they go on the basis of, okay, this is an Earth colony, there should be Earth elements in there that could be recognisable to the normal audience, but there's still that kind of sci-fi element with the colony and the quarry and the way everything all works out. I think it works quite well for that. Michael Bryant directs this story, one of his first, and it's a big task to do, this story, to be fair. There's a lot in it. There's a lot to get through. There's quite a bit of action with the fight sequences with the Doctor and another element, and the gun shooting as well. That's an interesting element with the guns, because I think there's a few production choices here. There's a kind of like a moon buggy thing that's going across the clay in the quarry, which is interesting. You've got the quite unconvincing monster that's terrorising people in the colony, which is intriguing. You've also got the fact that you have not lasers, they've actually used proper working guns, which is an interesting point to think that this is 500 years in the future, and the technology they're using is very similar to now, even though there's been Doctor Who that's obviously shown, earlier than this in the timelines, 21st century, 22nd century, it's been laser guns. This one's actually proper bullets and proper guns, which is an interesting take on it to show how much of a higgledy-piggledy it is with regards to the resources that these people have had. And it's not just the colonists who've got the guns, the miners have got the guns as well, so it's an interesting directorial and production choice. I think it works okay. I think the sets are fine. I think the quarry scenes actually are quite effective, because it's a clay quarry, it was quite raining and wet, and the muddiness actually made it better. And the fight scene that Winton has, I think it's with Morgan, one of the guards, is actually really well done, and I really quite like it. And I think that being in the mud and getting completely drowned under muddy puddles and that really works, and it really gives a more realism to the fight. And I think it's a nice little element of it. Overall, though, the story's interesting. It does keep you gripped more or less. There's a couple of grimace poses at the end of episodes for the cliffhangers, and most of the cliffhangers work quite well. I think the downside is that the Doctor seems to be under threat with the same machine for the first 2 episodes, which is intriguing. First time by accident, second time by malice, which was intriguing. So I do think they ran out of timings a little bit, and it maybe was a little bit clunky with some of the scripting and some of the wording sometimes. But do you know what? It was not bad, and I think the scenes with the Guardian near the end was a nice little parable piece that really works with Malcolm Hulke's writing, and I think it works really well overall. Dudley Simpson, very much in a synthesized era. There's a couple of percussion elements in there, but it's mostly the synths that he's using at this point. This was very much the style of the Third Doctor. Dudley Simpson's never overpowers a story. He's just punctuating it here. It works quite well for me, I think. Overall, it's a okay story. It's not quite take your brain out, but it is one of these stories where it's okay to enjoy. It's not something that's really deep. It's not something that's really big. It's not something I would necessarily point out as one of the better stories of the Jon Pertwee era. It does the brief. It covers what it needs to. I think it's maybe a little bit too long, maybe an episode, maybe two too long. I think Master being added in as an extra disruptive element as the adjudicator in the second half kind of helps pad it out a bit more, but I think it could have done with maybe 5 episodes or even 4, and it is possible to do 5 episodes in this season because the Demons is the next one. But yeah, that you know, it's fine. It's an okay story, but I would give it a rating of 3 TARDISes out of 5. Okay, let's see how that story stacks up with the rest of the Jon Pertwee era, and also how it stacks up with the rest of the TV stories I've reviewed as well. Colony in Space joins Monster of Peladon with 3 TARDISes out of 5. The highest rated story in Jon Pertwee's era is Inferno with 4.5 TARDISes out of 5. Overall, there's still 3 stories at the bottom with 2.5 TARDISes out of 5. They are Time Lash, Sleep No More, and Warriors of the Deep. Inferno's 4.5 TARDISes out of 5 puts it in with 6 other stories: The Happiness Patrol, The Day of the Doctor, The Caves of Androzani, The Tomb of the Cybermen, Dalek, and The End of Time. That's it from me for this Doctor Who review. What did you think about Colony in Space? Leave a comment down below. Do you like it? Leave a comment down below. Are you not so keen? Leave a comment down below. Please don't forget to check out the channel, have a look at other reviews. The playlist is up there for the 3rd Doctor reviews just now. It's also in the description, so have a check out for that. You might be interested in seeing another Michael Bryant director story. I did The Sea Devils a few years back. Maybe have a look at that one. But if you like this video, please like it and share it with the hashtag teamstructor. Also hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell so you know when a new video comes out if you like the channel as a whole. I will see you in 2 weeks' time. Until then, guys, thanks so much for watching, and you know what? I'll see you later.